In today's video, we're installing 2 cameras to monitor the birdhouse we built 2 years ago. And trust me, you won't expect what happens next. After last season, I had to take the birdhouse down to clean it and make a few repairs. As soon as I removed the front cover, we could see the old camera. And here is a bunch of moss where the chicks were growing up. Over the winter, insects turned the birdhouse into an apartment for their nests. Unfortunately for the spider, the eviction day has come. As we remove the old nest, check this out. At the very bottom, there's an unhatched bird egg. For some reason, it never hatched. Let's open it up and take a look inside. Wow, after all this time it still looks edible, but of course I'm definitely not eating it. I decided to do a makeover inside the birdhouse and paint the walls. I picked up some eco-friendly grey paint for that. I'm installing a newer high-definition camera, which will give us a much cleaner view of the baby birds. The camera mount is adjustable because over time, when the chicks grow up, we'll need to move it back. One of the boards has cracked, probably from the cold, so I tried to reinforce it using this gadget. I nailed a twig onto the wall for the birds to sit on and reattached the house to the tree. But in order to see what's going on outside the birdhouse, we bought another camera. It's mounted on a stick that we attach to the fence. With this external camera, I'm hoping we'll be able to capture the exact moment the chicks leave the nest. A few days later, the first titmouse showed up at our birdhouse. It landed on the rope I used to climb up there. Then hopped onto the camera, probably mistaking it for a branch. Not long after, another titmouse flew in. They inspected the place carefully. One of them even went inside while the other stood watch, keeping an eye out for danger. I was really hoping they'd move in, but they flew away and never came back. Later, I added some seeds and sawdust into the birdhouse, hoping to attract more birds. And it actually worked. Birds started coming by, but only to snack on the seeds and do some strange little rituals inside. Eventually, they began bringing in bits of moss, which usually means nest building had begun. But then, something must have happened. They never returned. Summer came and went, and then winter arrived. I was pretty disappointed. Not only had the experiment failed, but I had no idea why. By the time spring rolled around, I wasn't expecting much. Still, I kept checking the birdhouse now and then, but it was always empty. Until one day, I looked inside and saw this. A real titmouse, just sitting there, staring back at me. And since it was sitting in the nest, that could only mean one thing. There was something beneath it. I quickly set up my camera and waited to see what would happen next. The titmouse was probably startled by the camera, but instead of flying off, she stayed put. Her instincts told her to protect the egg, no matter what. She tried to chase the monster away with 2 sharp loud flaps of her wings. When that didn't work, she marched right up to the camera and opened her beak threateningly. A few moments later, she called her husband to chase away the uninvited guests. He burst into the birdhouse with a spider in his beak, saw the giant black camera, and immediately flew off. Yep, very reliable husband material. Eventually, the mother titmouse flew out of the birdhouse, which finally gave us a glimpse of what she's been guarding. 9 tiny white eggs with brown speckles. Sadly, not all of them will survive. Over time, the birds got used to the camera. Most of the day, the female sat on the eggs, warming them with her body and carefully turning them to make sure they were heated evenly. After all, life only begins in an egg that's kept in the right temperature. You might remember this from our earlier experiment with a chicken egg in a glass. To save a female from having to leave the nest to find food, the male regularly brought her beetles or caterpillars. She sometimes had trouble swallowing them. The next morning, a few of the chicks had hatched. Eggshells are rich in calcium and other minerals, so the titmouse made a smart move. She ate them. In the process, she accidentally swallowed a bit of animal hair from the nest, but she managed to cope with this problem. She couldn't manage the second piece, though she had carried it out of the birdhouse. That gave us a much better view of the babies. Looks like there are 3 or 4 of them so far. The rest are still tucked inside their eggs. Right after hatching, the chicks need to eat, but they don't exactly know how yet. They haven't learned to open their beaks for food. To help them along, the mother makes a series of special sounds, designed to trigger their instincts and get them to lift their heads and open wide. At first, nothing happens. It's almost like she blames the camera for that. But then, success! One tiny chick opens its beak and gets its very first caterpillar. By the next morning, all but one egg had hatched. The mother will probably wait a bit longer, but if it doesn't hatch soon, she'll remove it from the nest to make space. The male brought in a huge caterpillar, almost as big as a chick. Realizing none of the babies could manage it, the female just ate it herself. I don't see any unhatched eggs now, but it's also impossible to count the chicks exactly. I can see at least 7 mouths in the nest at one moment. At 4 AM, the next day, the male arrives with the first portion of food. It's still a bit dark, so the camera hasn't switched from night mode to color yet. Sometimes after eating, the chicks climb over their siblings, do little splits with their legs and hand their mother a small white gift, which she promptly takes out of the nest. It's not the most pleasant activity, but there is no other way. It's now the 4th day since hatching. In this shot, we see the female returning with food and start feeding the chicks. But at one point, her toe accidentally gets caught in one of their beaks. That poo chick can't stretch up properly, and as a result, misses out. In this nest, the ones who reach the highest usually eat first. Now, watch this. A perfect response to feeding call. The female lands, makes a specific sound, and all the chicks immediately raise their beaks like clockwork. After another feeding, one of the chicks got into the special position a bit too late, and started producing a white gift just as a female left the nest. Since she didn't take it with her, it stayed behind. These kinds of mishaps happen quite often. If the mother titmouse doesn't notice and remove the waste in time, harmful bacteria or infection can develop, which could have serious consequences. If you've been paying attention, you might have noticed that at first the chicks were nestled in the center of the nest, but as they grew, they somehow shifted over to one side, closer to the wall of the house. That side is colder, and a drop in temperature might not be great for them. I didn't like that change, but at the time I wasn't sure what to do about it. And then, one day, the male came back with some kind of a huge monster of a bug and dropped it right onto the female's beak. I honestly don't believe any of the chicks could swallow something that big. On day 5, I noticed that the female was searching for something in the nest, maybe trying to remove something. A few minutes later, she pulled out one of the chicks. It wasn't moving. It must have been a hard decision. Maybe that chick was born sick or had weak genes. This is exactly why titmice lay so many eggs, to give the strongest and healthiest ones a chance to survive. On day 6, the male found sunflower seeds, shelled it and brought it back to the female. It was way too hard for the chicks to digest, so the female pressed it down with her foot, crushed it into a soft mash with her beak and fed it to the babies. Honestly, it never ceases to amaze me how smart even a tiny bird can be. Later that evening, the male rather foolishly brought back a wasp. Thankfully, the female instantly realized how dangerous it could be and got rid of it right away. She did the same with a small piece of rock he brought in. Over the entire project of observation, our cameras recorded more than 20,000 video clips. We've been reviewing them in shifts, with 2 people watching 4 screens at once. In the next video, I'll show you how many of the chicks managed to survive and what they had to overcome from predators to nature itself before they finally leave the nest.